Wine is uniquely sensitive to our changing climate. Its growers and producers have been amongst the fastest and most innovative in mitigating and adapting to this climate crisis. Grand Events has pioneered international climate change and wine conferences, featuring the leading names of the industry, with such keynote speakers as Barack Obama, Al Gore, and Kofi Annan. A new edition, Green Wine Future, happens May 23rd through 26th, 2022, from across the planet in their own time zones. California, Chile, Spain, Portugal, France, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Green Wine Future will show solutions for the wine industry in areas such as water resources, energy efficiency, biodiversity, transportation, regenerative viticulture, packaging, climate change, and many others. Using the latest virtual technology, Green Wine Future will offer a totally new format for attending a conference. Pre-recorded footage, live broadcast, and tailor-made documentaries will take delegates into vineyards, wineries, and research projects to witness firsthand which are the solutions to the environmental challenges of our industry. Visit www.greenwinefuture.com to join the most important environmental and sustainability conference for our world of wine.
Welcome, everyone, to Wine in a Changing Climate, the second edition of videos to promote Green Wine Future 2022. My name is David Fuhrer. I'm the program director for this international virtually conducted wine business event that's dealing with sustainability and climate crisis responses by the wine world. I'm also the conference host, and I look forward to seeing you there May 23rd to 26th. The Green Wine Future Conference is a uniquely positioned conference for the world, the entire wine business community, to come together to address issues of how to improve on issues that we've already worked on, implementing solutions for sustainability management, and also to share with your colleagues how it is we are responding to the climate crisis with alacrity, with clarity, and with a vision. Today, we're with a few very important people in Portugal and sharing with us as they are a host location for us during that week in May, as well as one of our important sponsoring bodies. We have with us Wines of Portugal and the Porto Protocol. Representing Vini Portugal, or Wines of Portugal, is its managing director, Frederico Falcão, who joins us now and will share his thoughts.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, so once again, Wines of Portugal joins an event to discuss a more sustainable future for the wines and for our planet. This topic of sustainability, it's very important for the Portuguese wine sector. And of course, we approach it in the three ways of looking at it: in the social way, economic way, and environmental way. In Portugal, we already have sustainability regional systems, which are now being certified, and we are now working on a national system. As if everyone knows, the wine sector has a strong social commitment since we have started to worry about wine in moderation also, and now this issue of taking care of our planet. So as a sector, the wine sector has always been a pioneer sector in the world. In Portugal is often a pioneer in this type of concerns. We have already studied and genetically preserved all our wine, huge variety of autochthonous wine varieties. So regarding sustainability or the sustainable way of producing wines, we also want to be in the forefront. In these virtual events that will happen in May, we will have a vast debates on the concerns with the future of our sector and, of course, of our planets. and the way that we as a sector should contribute to it. As some of you know, Portugal is now going through a difficult period of drought, lack of rain. So, and this problem of how to manage the water in the wine sector, in the vineyards, and in the wineries, it's also very important. So we look forward to this event that will be in May. Once again, thank you, Pancho Campo, who is not with us today, and David Fuhr and all the team for inviting Wines of Portugal to be associated with this event. And together, I'm sure we can achieve a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frederico. We look forward to seeing you again in May. I know you'll be speaking there as well, and we have many wonderful speakers from Portugal joining you over the course of 4 days, not only on your day as hosting.
Thank you.
As Frederico just mentioned, we're going to hear now from the founder of Green Wine Future, the gentleman who first introduced the concept of climate change in wine to the wine world as an event that needed our focus, that needed our attention all the way back to 2006. We're now moved along. We're now talking about sustainability, the broader issues that are inculcated in that. So please enjoy a few words from the founder, Pancho Campo.
Today we are visiting the wine country of Ronda. Climate change has become the most challenging issue for our society, but also for our industry. Hello, this is Pancho Campo, and together with my team in 2006, we created the first World Conference on Climate Change and the Wine Industry. It was a small event, but it was attended by the most important media, both mainstream and from the wine industry. But most importantly, it caught the attention of Vice President Al Gore and his team, who invited me afterwards to attend a training personally conducted by the Vice President in Seville to become a climate leader of his foundation, the Climate Reality Project. But I convinced him to be the keynote speaker at the next edition of the World Conference on Climate Change and Wine. When he participated in the Barcelona event next to 50 or 60 of the most relevant names of the wine industry, he had just won the Nobel Peace Prize. He has just released the movie and the Oscar. So the event went from being very small, only 100 participants, to more than 600 delegates coming from 70 or 75 different parts of the world. That encouraged us to continue in our crusade to create awareness about the importance of fighting climate change. In future editions, we had the honor of counting with keynote speakers such as Secretary General Kofi Annan, Vice President Al Gore in several occasions, Director General for UNESCO Irina Bokova, and President Barack Obama at the Climate Change Porto Summit, organized or co-organized with Taylor's Port in Portugal. The 6th edition of this World Conference has now acquired the name of Green Wine Future. It will be a 100% virtual event, not so much because of the pandemic, but for 3 reasons. Number 1, we must keep our carbon footprint low. We cannot have people traveling from all over the world, private jets, flights from Australia, Chile, South Africa. Number 2, we want to be a global event. And because of that, Green Wine Future will be broadcast from 8 different time zones of the world, 8 different host regions. But it's not going to be the typical Zoom conference. We are implementing a totally new technology that has never been used, at least in the wine industry. Each speaker has been asked to produce a video with your iPhone, with a GoPro, a video at the winery, at your vineyard, at your research center, about the topic you're supposed to talk about in a panel or as a keynote. We have made an alliance with Hopin, the leading company in virtual technology for events out of Silicon Valley. And not only they will make possible this kind of technology for the participation of the speakers, but we will also have a virtual expo where companies can promote their products, their wines, their services, and an area dedicated to networking, which will be open 2 weeks prior to the event so people can start networking, doing business, and as I said, participating in a much more live and engaging manner. The event also is a charity event. Like all the events since 2009, we try to raise funds for 3 NGOs, the Porto Protocol in Portugal, SOS Cape Town in South Africa, and Wine Unified in California. But the main goal of this conference is to unify the wine industry around the world to solve the most pressing issue that our industry, like other industries and like our society are facing, the climate crisis. Please drop your differences, set aside your personal interests, and let's work together. It is time to act. We cannot wait any longer. Support us by registering to Green Wine Future so we can continue organizing these kinds of events. Thank you very much.
That was a bit from Pancho. Thank you for Pancho. And yeah, I was actually there in 2006. I was residing in London, and I was there as a journalist covering it for the greatest number of media outlets around the world that have ever written about anything about wine before or since. So that was quite an exciting time. We have for Green Wine Future, and we always have for the conferences that Pancho has led, beneficiary recipients for profits from the event. One of those in this edition of Green Wine Future is an organization that we were there at the beginning of its just understanding back in Porto in 2019, and representing the Porto Protocol today is its manager, the Porto Protocol Foundation's manager, Marta Mendonça. Marta, welcome. Marta is muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here, David. And I am aware that our name is sometimes difficult to pronounce. Indeed, I find it sometimes. Anyway, thank you for being here. I was just listening to Pancho, and many of the things he said are actually some of the messages I wanted to convey. And indeed, you were at the beginning of Porto Protocol. And I think the main word that we should bear in mind when we speak about climate change, that you do as well as you prepare Green Wine Future, is that we are looking for solutions. We are sharing solutions. So we are not focused on the problem that climate change is. As I read recently, this is not about Christmas. This is about believing what science is telling us and focusing on what the world has to do to fight climate change. In this particular case, the wine world. So speaking on behalf of Porto Protocol, indeed, we are working on a global movement from Porto to the world, which is why I'm here today, also as a beneficiary organization of the Green Wine Future. And there are a few words I would like to tell you about climate action that I'll start by saying. As I said, we are working from Porto to the world. We are an international organization, and we have this amazing privilege of having an eagle's eye of what's happening around the world in terms of trends, in terms of challenges, in terms of solution, not only in terms of climate action, but at the end of the day, what is the wine world doing to look for a greener wine future? What is it doing to be developed sustainably? So there are a few words that I would like to tell you before we go into what the Portuguese wine producers are doing to address these topics. The first one, and taking into account the words that Pancho just said, is drop your differences. So there's this term I came across with very recently and really describes how we should act together, which is co-opetition, the need for us to build together, to set aside our differences as producers of whatever product, but in this case of wine, and focus on collaborating together when it comes to climate change and when it comes to sustainability, that we share among ourselves and learn among ourselves what we can do to develop our business in a sustainable way. And at the end of the day, it's a decision on what type of impact we want our business to have, is to look at our business not only as a business, as an individual business, but as part of a much wider ecosystem, which we impact in the way we produce, in the way we interact with the community, in the way we interact with all our stakeholders, our staff, and the environment. So at the end of the day, it's a question of choice. Now, moreover, if we want to look at sustainable development, we can look at in a variety of ways, not just on the impact we're having as environmentally and socially, but also what it brings to our business in terms of efficiency. When we're talking about a sustainable approach to our business, we're also talking about efficiency. We are talking about the way we manage our resources more mindfully, the way we spend water and the way we spend energy, the way we are able to motivate our staff to be with us and to be part of this responsibility of widening our positive impact. From a Portuguese standpoint, it makes so much historical sense to speak of sustainable development. Looking at the Portuguese industry, at the Portuguese wine industry, we've been around for centuries. Many of the companies we deal with, many of our members at the Porto Protocol have been around for more than 300 years. As Pancho said, we came from two conferences that took place in Porto, Climate Change Leadership. Pancho was the co-organizer of these events. And Taylor Sport is the company that is behind Climate Change Leadership and Porto Protocol. And Taylor's has been around for more than 350 years. This is amazing. So this sense of looking at the future, to the long-term future, and therefore wanting to leave a good legacy, a positive legacy for generations to come, is something that comes naturally to many wine companies. And again, looking at Portugal, that's something that comes really natural to Portuguese wine companies that have been around for centuries, that are still family businesses, and therefore they want to leave a legacy for the generations to come, and they want to leave a better one than the one they have inherited. Furthermore, the importance of the wine industry in terms of socioeconomic weight that it has, it's absolutely crucial. Many regions, taking into account, for example, the Douro region, is absolutely dependent on the wine industry for employment, for local economy. So, for example, when a harvest comes, a whole ecosystem suddenly comes to life, and it's completely dependent on wine producers. This is how important, on one hand, and how natural it is for our industry to think long-term and therefore to want to sustain the business in the long term. I think these are the main words. I think we want to leave you with an invitation to act. Don't wait for perfection. You don't need a perfect plan to act on climate and to think sustainably. Look at your business as a whole, rethink it, go beyond your comfort zone, go beyond what you know in your business, and try to think of the impact you want to live. Try to act rather than act in a perfect way. Try simply to act, and to act today. We have no time to waste. The new IPCC report was just launched a couple of weeks ago. And again, the proofs of what we are doing to our planet, what we're doing to ourselves as a species, is putting us at stake. And therefore, there's no need to wait for action. That we cannot wait for action. And the only way we can do this is together and collaborating and creating a collective voice and a collective way of looking at this challenge that we're facing as a species. Thank you.
And thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
So, Green Wine Future is exactly 11 weeks away from today, Monday, March 7th, commencing on the 23rd of May. We hope you'll join. And as we've alluded to previously, the nature of the event is fully virtual. And that is, things will be available to everybody who registers at the moment of its broadcast and for any time thereafter, whenever it is they choose to tune in. Wherever you are in the world, You have full access as a registrant. And it's worth mentioning, we are speakers at this point. We have a worldwide array of speakers. It's still growing. Even with only 11 weeks away, we still have people stepping up who want to participate. Just a quick list of our keynote speakers. Fernando Valladares, a research scientist from Spain, will be joining us, along with Miguel Angel Soto, who will be speaking on behalf of Greenpeace. From Visit Greenland, we have, excuse the pronunciation, I'm not so good on my Danish or Greenlandic, is Jorter Smarsson. And from Germany, we have Hans Scholz, the president of Geisenheim University. Esteemed academic Kim Nicholas, who has a new book out, Under the Shared Sky, I believe it is. She'll be talking to us as she did in Porto. From Spain again, Jose Naranjo, who's the director of Arctic World, and a gentleman who's been with us from the very beginning, Dr. Gregory Jones, in my native US, who's now heading up his family's Abasala Wines, one of the most noted climatologists with regards to wine in the entire world. He'd be giving a keynote speech. Also tuning in from the US, Jonathan Foley, who is the Project Drawdown's executive director. Do check out his TED Talk, brilliant stuff. And from Colombia, Natalia Bayona, who is representing the UN World Tourism Organization as its Director of Innovation, Education, and Investment. And we've just added a few interesting names. The Minister of Tourism for Panama, the government of Panama, Ivan Eskildsen, very interesting fellow. He'll be joining us for a keynote speech, as will the noted marine biologist, Sylvia Earle. What a background she has. And a name that should be familiar to a great number of you, even if you're not tuning in from the wine world, Sam Neill, who is the proprietor of the New Zealand winery Two Paddocks. Sam Neill, yes, that actor. He's also a vintner by choice of many years. He's going to be with us as well. And of course, the aforeseen Pancho Campo will be speaking as well in one of our keynote sessions, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have dozens, pushing 100 right now, speakers who will be participating in the various conference sessions of a great many issues. And I want to touch upon those very briefly, what those issues are going to be, because, you know, when I was speaking to many of my colleagues around the globe about the conference, a good percentage of them were only seeing the issues of sustainability focused solely on what's going on in the soil. A key point about it, but we're looking at the entire wine business, and sustainability has grown to be the buzzword as much as climate change has. Why? Because we see the complexities, we understand the nuances, and it's not just the soil, important though the soil of course is, but it's many things. And so we're looking at things, the broader issues of the climate crisis, economic questions we have to look at in regards to the environment, and investment issues. We're looking at the impact that it has upon human beings. The issues of labor have become more to the fore lately, especially with the pandemic. But as was talked about briefly by Marta, we have a responsibility as members of the wine sector to our communities and to the people who live amongst us. And that will be addressed as well. Under the umbrella of viticulture and soils, we're looking at biodiversity, the issues of using chemicals versus organic and biodynamic viticulture, regenerative viticulture, hot issue right now. We will going deep into that, as we have already in our podcast series. Do check out our podcast series. And looking at old vines and so on. Renewable energies, of course, will be addressed. Marketing issues, greenwashing. We're going to have a very, very interesting session on greenwashing I encourage you to tune in for. Looking at policies between wine-producing organizations and their various governments, and of course, practice in the winery itself. Well, that's just a small sampling of the various topics that will be addressed, some of which, again, are already being touched upon in small form in our audio podcast series. Do check that out. The virtual technology, again, Hopin, a completely new platform for the wine world. Do go to their website, get a sense of what it's about. And so I think Pancho has already let you know where he was when he filmed his video. So now it's my turn to introduce my friend, the biodynamic vintner and the person responsible for bringing the native Germanic grape of Lemberger to Spain, Frederico Falcão. Welcome, Federico.
Today we are visiting the wine country of Ronda. Ronda is one of the most visited and most beautiful cities of all Andalusia, north of Marbella, about 60 minutes drive, and we've come to visit my friend Frederico Schatz. Federico has been one of the pioneers in this region, initially with some German varieties, but eventually he has adopted grape varieties such as Pinot Noir and Tempranillo. He is passionate about the environment, about fighting the climate crisis. And we're going to use this video to show the speakers at Green Wine Future the kind of footage that we're looking for. This video is being recorded with my iPhone. I'm not even using a lapel microphone, I'm using the microphone of the camera, just to show you how easy it is to put images to what you are going to be talking about during the conferences of Green Wine Future. Join me and let's go and meet Frederico Schatz.
Yes, we are here on Finca Sanguijuela, on the mountains of Sierra Sanguijuela. We are on a sea level of 700 meters and about 50 kilometers far from Africa, 40 kilometers from the Mediterranean Sea and 80 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean. We are 8 kilometers near a town, the town Ronda, and we are located in the province of Malaga, Andalusia, Spain. We work on our 3 hectares from 8 different grape varieties, 6 different wines. All our wines are organic, biodynamic and natural. We don't use sulfites, so we only use our own grapes and oak barrels. The grape varieties we use are Pinot Noir, Petit Verdot. Then we have also Lemberger grape. We are the only winery in Spain working 100% with Lemberger. Then we use also as Chardonnay for our white wine and Moscatel Negro for our rosé wine. And also the blend we are working is Finca Sanguijuela, the brand name, and it's a blend of 3 grape varieties. Here we use Tempranillo, Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. We are near to the Mediterranean Sea, but separated from a high mountain. It's Sierra de las Nieves, who has more or less 2,000 meters of high. So we have more influence of Atlantic climate. That means that the winter months, as January, February, March, we have a low temperature in the night, -5, -3, -10, -15 was the lowest temperature I have measured here. And in the day, when you have a day without any wind and any clouds, you can have easily 20, 25 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In summer, the temperature rise up to 30 degrees. The average temperature is more or less 27, 29, 33. But some days also with 40. But again in the night the temperature goes down until more or less a level of 18, 16 degrees. So it's a really fresh area in the night. And we have only rainfall in the winter period from October to May. No rain is coming from May to October. And so we have a natural dry stress situation, who is, I think, very nice for our wines, because so they have to go very deep down with their roots. And so finally they have more extension of the roots, and you can catch more minerality from the soil. We have enough rainfall because we are very near to a mountain area who is called Grazalema. Grazalema, it's about 20 kilometers far from us in the north part, in the province of Cádiz. And there we have a space who it's the rainiest space from Spain and also from Europe. So we have more or less there in this spot 4,000 liter rainfall per square meter per year. And here in Ronda we have more or less average value of about 500, 600 liter per square meter each year. So it's a really interesting area because it's a southerly surface, but completely good, still good with enough rainfall. And so it's a very nice thing, this combination of the very low temperature in the night and enough rainfall in the winter period. The grape varieties are also a very important tool for us. So we can work with long cycle grape varieties. For example, we are working with Petit Verdot also. So Petit Verdot is a very long cycle grape variety, needs much more maturing period. And so finally you are entering again in the cool autumn to do the harvest, and so you have another possibility to fight against the climate change. Also, you can work in the soil with different fertilizing. For example, we have also fertilized it here a lot with cool, vegetative cool, you know. So finally, this helps also to have more humidity in the soil. You can have much more hygroscopically, and there's also a much bigger surface who is catching the CO2, and finally that helps also to avoid the climate change. And fantastic soil is also important. When you see the roots of the plants, finally you see also these composition of different part of the soil is linked together like with glue. This is a really nice connection to the soil, which is the basic thing of all. Well, as we are organic and biodynamic and natural, so we work also with the biodynamic herbs. So it's a huge help in the soil. So we have really a good soil. We have really a soil with enough nutrients. We have a soil who is completely ordered because of the application of the biodynamic products, mainly the 500 product, you know, the cow manure. Finally, we can have an order in the soil, and when you have an order in the soil, finally you can have a fruit from your plant, in this case the grapes from our wines, with a really natural order inside. So when you bring these fine and mature and ordered grapes to the cellar to produce a wine of them, you have finally, if you do a smooth winemaking in the cellar, also a very nice order in the wine, and so the wine is stable for its own. You need no much more. And also you can have really in a complicated year, or in a year where it's a little bit more hot or whatever, when you have a natural soil, when you have an organic soil, you have the help from the microorganisms, and finally you can have a little bit like a smoother working, and the wines have not so much stress as, for example, in other conventional soils. And also when you have covered your wines, as we have covered them with our green fertilizer, you can have minimum 10 degree of Celsius less of temperature inside of the soil. So this helps also a lot again. And also when you have a lot of green fertilizer, a lot of weeds, you will have finally also much more humidity in the soil. It's not the other opposite thing. The people are thinking that the weeds are taking out the humidity, but it's the opposite thing, because they are covering the soil, they are giving a shadow to the soil, and so they are protecting the water who has come from the winter period, and also the temperature. And of course you can also have your own energy, as we have. You can see on the backstage our solar panels. We were the solar station, the first solar station, private solar station in Andalusia, the biggest one in the 90s when we have produced this. And with these solar panels we have enough energy for all of the energy we need for our winemaking, and of course for our private living in our house and so on. So since '93 we are completely disconnected from the grid. We don't need extra energy. So finally this is a thing who everyone can do today, and it's also very cheap now. The prices have going very low of the solar panels. So now it's not expensive. Now it's really economically to have your own solar panels. And what we are seeking for this is that each person have the historically possibility who we have now to produce for the first time their own energy. And then later on, when you need more energy, you can have from the grid. So it's much more easy now when we have solar panels in our own houses. Each roof can be covered with solar panels, schools, industrial area, industrial stores, whatever. And later on, then we can see if we need much more energy from the grid, who have to come, for example, from other producers. So it's really a good thing, and finally we can avoid to not have to build more grids. We don't need more wires and so on, because we have the grids from the beginning, so it's completely enough. So this is really a good point, to produce our own energy, and our energy is produced in the spot where we are using the energy, so we don't have to bring the energy from another point. And this is very good for your CO2 footprint, you know. When we use the biodynamic herbs and the biodynamic preparations, finally we can help the soil to be a better soil, a soil with more order. We can help also to the plants to be more healthier, that they have more force, that they have more capacity to catch the nutrients from the soil. And so finally, when you are using the biodynamic preparations, finally you can give a stronger help to all the plants and the soil, that they can really fight against these more hotter days, or these some period of less rain and of dryness, and those they are really have more strongness and are more prepared to kind of fight all against these things who are coming. Also, we have to understand, when we don't use chemical fertilizers, finally we have no salt in the soil. And you know, when you use chemical fertilizers, the soil is very salty, and you need much more water to that plants can grow in these salty soil.
Well, vielen Dank, Friedrich. That was a glimpse into how one company or one entity, one person can make a video quite easily. Thank you for that. And it's worth mentioning at this point, even though Federico has worked very hard in his organicness and his biodynamism and his venting, it's not a conference specifically about organic viticulture. Again, going back to the viticulture issues, we're open to everybody in the world who is looking at the complexity of what is sustainability. So in this, it's worth bringing to the fore again something that has been a key element of all the conferences in which I've worked with Pancho Campo and his esteemed colleagues at Crond, and that is there are always donation recipients. And the three that we have for Green Wine Future 2022. Of course, Porto Protocol Foundation was just mentioned, and you heard from Marta Mendonça about this. It is an internationally based nonprofit institution, though based in Portugal, of course. And this works with hundreds of its members, working to mitigate climate change as it impacts the wine sector. A new addition to our group of NGOs is Wine Unify, who so ably helped us out in presenting at last year's Wine Future 2021 conference. Well, we thought so highly of them and their leader, shall we say, or top man, Martin Reyes, a master of wine in California. Well, we wanted to bring them in as an NGO, and we have many of the founding people behind Wine Unify who are working with us as conference moderators and speakers, not only Martin. So we're really proud to have Wine Unify on board, an organization that is founded upon the education being the cornerstone to progress in the wine sector. And lastly, a beneficiary has nothing to do specifically with wine, but we worked with them again at Wine Future 2021 last year as a donation recipient, SOS Cape Town, that they are working to ensure that political promises are being met and in South Africa, in their country. And they are focused primarily, but not exclusively, on the water crisis in that country. So please, your participation in Green Wine Future will help these NGOs in their estimable work. Green Wine Future is a virtual expo, and we have many opportunities within that for you to participate, not only as a sponsor or an attendee, but there's networking opportunities for you to exhibit if you have products or services or wines that you wish to showcase. to the people who are in attendance. This virtual expo is opening 2 weeks before, actually on May 9th, before the actual conference itself. So there's more opportunity than just that. We're building towards that. So this virtual expo will begin on May 9th, continue through the conference. So that networking opportunity is multiple. I want to draw your attention also to early bird registration, which is going to continue for another 8 days, so I'm told, to March 15th. So please, to receive the very, very low rate of $68 to attend the entirety of the 4 days when it's happening, and then for a month or so afterwards, you'll have access to that as well. Early bird registration for another 8 days will be $68. So please go to greenwinefuture.com to sign up. And lastly, I'm going to invite our previous speakers to join me again and see here if we have any questions from the audience, or if Frederico wishes to engage with me about anything that I may have missed or something that may have been in his mind.
David, you never miss anything, so it's everything has been said. Now, I think you've pointed out everything regarding this issue we will be debating on May, and it's sustainability. It's not just environmental; it's much more than that. And I think I just said a bit about that. You said it. Marta also pointed it out. So it's important that we debate everything in this wine sector, to help our planet in the future and to help also our wine producers in the future, of course. I don't know if we have questions or not.
I'm being told that we don't, but Marta, is there anything you wish to add at this time?
No, I think it's really important. Well, no, but yes, I'm just adding, let's continue focus on solutions, because that's so much more refreshing, and that really incites to more action rather than just being scared and overwhelmed with what we're experiencing as a planet and as a species.
Well, I look forward to your colleague, Adrian Bridge, addressing the audience as well as one of our speakers. And thank you for that. Frederico, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you all Green Wine Future, May 23rd to 26th.
Thank you.
Wine is uniquely sensitive to our changing climate. Its growers and producers have been amongst the fastest and most innovative in mitigating and adapting to this climate crisis. Grand Events has pioneered international climate change and wine conferences, featuring the leading names of the industry, with such keynote speakers as Barack Obama, Al Gore, and Kofi Annan. A new edition, Green Wine Future, happens May 23rd through 26th, 2022, from across the planet in their own time zones. California, Chile, Spain, Portugal, France, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Green Wine Future will show solutions for the wine industry in areas such as water resources, energy efficiency, biodiversity, transportation, regenerative viticulture, packaging, climate change, and many others. Using the latest virtual technology, Green Wine Future will offer a totally new format for attending a conference. Pre-recorded footage, live broadcast, and tailor-made documentaries will take delegates into vineyards, wineries, and research projects to witness firsthand which are the solutions to the environmental challenges of our industry. Visit www.greenwinefuture.com to join the most important environmental and sustainability conference for our world of wine.